How's it going, guys? Today I'm going to be featuring the Takahashi, the Tier 8 Japanese light cruiser. Takahashi, man, I do wish this thing was better. It's super reliant on the enemy team basically chasing you the whole match in order for you to have a good match, I suppose, which kind of is exactly what happens in this game. Not the best. Kind of a cruiser that also relies on a lot of dot damage or landing torpedoes, which there is the Pan-Asian cruiser line, which I think is just much better at doing that than the Japanese light cruiser line. Obviously, Takahashi, Shimato, they can pen 30 with Ichi shells, whereas stuff like Seong, Harbin are stuck at penning 20, 19. 19 is the important threshold. I guess 20 if you shoot at gearing. But yeah, basically just destroyers, battleships, superstructures. You're not gonna pen any cruisers or bow armor for that matter in the Pan-Asians, which is kind of unfortunate, but I guess it's a balance factor. But the thing is, those things reload much faster than the Takahashi does, so they do have a higher fire setting rate than the Takahashi, which even with Aelatago, you don't really set a whole lot of fires that fast, as our friendly Montana is broadside and losing to a Michelangelo. Kind of unfortunate. He's kind of the tank that we have, since we only have a Venezia that is for some reason reversing and well, causing kind of a traffic jam here. But it's not looking good. Our battleship is about to go down. There's also an enemy destroyer here. Yeah, I don't know what this Venezia was doing. Just blocking us, I guess, was his plan. But we can't stay here. There's way too many battleships for us to try and tank. And, well, I'd rather not just get farmed. Enemy conch sitting at the furthest island. I think there's two conchs, actually, as well as a Yamato. Enemy defense. Yeah, we can't really stay here. Our whole team basically went to the other side of the map. So we're kind of in the situation where we need to try and delay the enemy team and, well, slow them down so they don't just go over to the other side, start crossfiring, and start dumpstering our team. We dump torps, and we basically need to turn away to kite. There's not really a whole lot of room to kite at this point. We need to basically sail from the bottom left of the map to the bottom right. But if we're going to keep going in the direction we're heading, we're going to reach the border and run out of room. The amount of conchs that are here, we're being out HE spammed. It's absolutely brutal. We can't really do anything except run away and dump as many torps as we possibly can, hoping to hit anything with these torpedoes. Although considering there's an enemy destroyer here, those torps probably are going to keep getting spotted unless they end up hitting the destroyer. And, well, I won't really spoil which destroyer it is that's here until later. And then you'll be scratching your head, as I was, why this destroyer was unspotted the whole match and struggled to torpedo or really do anything. But we just need to keep running away. Venezia is running in front of us. He does have a exhaust smoke that we can try to use, although if he does use his exhaust smoke, since we're behind him, everything will go unspotted. But I think it's better that we survive rather than, I guess, risk or get greedy to try and finish something. Running out of room, Venezia starts smoking up. We're at the border, not really a whole lot that we can do. Venezia tries to take a pot shot with AP at the enemy Minotaur. Unfortunately, Minotaur is paying attention and does turn in time to mitigate any of the damage and doesn't get dev struck, which is super unfortunate. Minotaur getting dev struck probably would have helped significantly. There's not really a whole lot that we can do at this point except keep running and torpedoing. Kind of what you want to be doing in this ship, although maybe not as much of a, well, extreme scenario as this, where you have basically a majority of the enemy team that's alive chasing you. Ideally, it probably would just be one flank or 3 ships trying to chase you. But also, you really shouldn't just be running away, only if your team is not running as well. If your team was actually trying to fight the flank, then you should probably stick around and not abandon them. But Montana on our side died, Venezia started running, so we follow suit, and we also tried to get out of here, getting some pretty good hits on the defense and start setting some fires. Venezia makes a mistake. I'm not really sure why he decided to start pushing back in towards them, especially considering how many ships there are. We are also whittling down this enemy defense, so there was a pretty good chance that we could, you know, actually finish him off together. But Venezia just, I guess, decided to accept fate and just die, which is unfortunate for us because then he's going to leave us with a lot more ships than I would really like to have to fight on my own. Friendly team is pushing through the enemy spawn, so it's going to be a very long while until we get any sort of help. Defense on fire. Hopefully we can finish him off. We set another fire. Venezia sap touches him just enough, and we finish off the enemy defense. So there's -1 ship of theirs, but we're about to lose another one on our side because Venezia decided to charge back in. I think he would have been 100% fine if he just decided to keep on kiting, but he decided to charge back in. So he's gonna go down here. I start pushing back in as well, not with the intention of pushing them all on my own 3 battleships. No, we're just trying to get a little closer to make it easier to land some torpedoes, so there's not as much time between launching them and them actually hitting the battleships, because the longer torps are in the water, chances are they do change their course, and well, our torps end up missing. The torps that we had previously launched for the defense funnily ends up hitting the conch. I'm pretty sure those torps are spotted, so I'm not sure if this is a scenario of paid actors or what, but we end up landing one. He has to DCP the flood, or I suppose he didn't have to, but he does, and now we have a pretty good chance to start burning this conch down. It's going to be a very long while, because conch just has super heals and so much HP. Light damage from fires and floods are 100% healable, so it's definitely going to just take forever to actually kill off this conch. But we're just going to keep wiggling, turning side to side, keep launching torps, and hopefully we land enough that he floods and, you know, burns. And we can survive. Using a Latago though, we take a little bit more damage, and we don't have a whole lot of heals. We're on our last heal. Take a decent chunk from the conch. Kind of not the ideal situation, being shot at by so many ships, but then again, you kind of need the enemy team to chase you in order to, I suppose, have Takahashi perform the best. Because we're landing torps, we're kiting, we're setting fires, that conch ends up stopping right where our torps are, and we land even more torps. Like, this is ideal in terms of being able to farm them, but not ideal because we're just getting shot up by their whole team. Takahashi is not very tanky, it's extremely squishy. Trolly at times though when you get shot at when you're broadside, or rather when we shoot broadside. Takahashi is very trolly in terms of getting citadels, which sometimes sucks. But we're, I guess, technically doing alright. We are spotted, so we know there's an enemy destroyer that's stalking us. We're located. We just don't really know where he is. Enemy Minotaur farming us from pretty far away. I guess he has beyond range in Minotaur. Not the most effective commander skill to have, especially being at range. Not always going to get pens. I guess plunging fire could be a thing, but more often than not, if there's a ship that's actually moving, shells are just so slow, you're probably going to struggle landing anything, as this Minotaur is underleading very poorly. And we're finally about to leave range. Our sonar only lasts a minute, which is super unfortunate. And, well, now we just have to guess when this destroyer decides to launch torpedoes. I tried to predict where he is. I was assuming he was chasing behind, but it actually turns out he is actually more in front of me than I would have ever thought. He's closer to our gimme objective. He's closer to B cap than I would have thought, which is kind of funny. there's only 2 sets of torps, so we know the enemy destroyer that's been chasing us around and not really doing anything for his team is the enemy Z-52. Not the destroyer that I would have thought would have been chasing us in our spawn. I would have thought it would have been Shima. But I guess, lucky for us, I mean, I guess 2 of our destroyers are actually dead. So maybe not lucky for us. If that Z-52 was actually going after our DDs, well, he probably would have been able to finish off our strong push, all things considered. Especially with our team dying so quickly, or rather our destroyers dying so quickly. But now that we know where the enemy Z-52 is, we dump torps to the cap, thinking maybe he decides to chase again. We see the enemy Minotaur, and we're going to close the distance. One of the most unfortunate things happened though while trying to push this Minotaur. We start off with HE. I mean, our HE can pen the Minotaur, and since he has AP only, we just do our best to stay angled. We know he's going to use his torpedoes, that's why he's turning. We switch to AP, predicting this, and well, we get a pretty good salvo, except for the fact that Minotaur salvo basically incapped all of our turrets. We damage con it so we can fire them while he's still broadside. We don't get nearly as much damage as we would have needed. And then all over again, Takahashi starts losing all of its turrets. We lost 2 of our front turrets, and well, we don't really have much of a choice here. We tried to use our rear turrets, but at this point, there's just nothing we can do. He just encapped way too many of our turrets way too quickly. Our friendlies do chime in, although a little too late. Kind of one of the things I hate about Japanese cruisers, the turret armor is absolute garbage. Even destroyer HE will incapacitate them, which, I mean, for a cruiser is absolutely tragic. Most of them only have 25 millimeters of armor, and well, at the time of recording this a couple streams ago, we were doing some science on I guess splash damage, and apparently your turret needs to have 76 millimeters of armor in order to ignore splash damage. And well, that's why there's situations where destroyer HE, even though it doesn't pen 25, will still encap your turret, because that splash damage is damaging your turret and causing the chance for incapacitation. So yeah, having turrets that are that fragile is yeah, not great. Zhao is the only cruiser, actually I guess Yoshino and Azuma are the only ones that don't have 25 everywhere. Those turrets are a little more protected, as the enemy Z-52 does finally decide to start shooting after basically doing nothing for his team. Unfortunately, this conch does go down to the Shima, but there's not enough time for them to come back. We have way too big of a points lead, as we basically wasted the enemy entire enemy's left flank push. Just wasted their time the whole time. They kept chasing, eating torps, fires, floods, the whole 9 yards, all just to finish off a Takahashi, which, well, technically they all died trying to do it. I guess not Z-52, but again, he wasn't very useful. So I guess we kind of, I mean, if I do say so myself, we kind of won that for our team. After our Montana ends up dying off the rip, and then Venezia decides to YOLO in. So 3k game in, Takahashi just running away, no caps, just farming all the ships. Yeah, I guess that's ideal Takahashi gameplay. Not the most fun, if I'm being honest. Why I avoid Japanese cruisers a lot, it's just kind of boring. I guess also technically Venezia still falls into that, but it's SAP, and you do have those like 20k salvos every now and then. Here I am looking at the turret. The sides have the 25, which is why they will be incapacitated by destroyer HE. And then on top of that, very thin armor, Minotaur shells arm, and cause a lot of problems, which is super unfortunate. As we also look at Ibuki, everything is 25. So yeah, not not the best. And then going to Zhao, as I was mentioning, Zhao actually has some pretty well protected turrets, which is pretty funny. But yeah, having your turrets knocked out by low caliber guns is uber tragic. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this one. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the runaway kite torpedo HE spam gameplay. If you did, leave a like and subscribe for more, and share it with your friends, or leave a comment down below for other ships you want to see in the future. But anyway guys, till next time, aloha.